Hi, I'm Rick Laprade. You probably have no idea who I am, but my cat's Meowgatron in Transformers lore, and I'm here to tell you that your childhood is trash if you didn't play Dungeons and Dragons. That sounds really fucking harsh, but it's the name of the show.
Welcome to Your Childhood Was Trash, the podcast where we explore the pop culture touchstones that shaped our guests' childhoods. From movies and TV shows to video games and toys, we'll cover it all. My name's Mike, and I'm here with my co-host Nick. And in every episode, we're joined by a special guest who shares their favorite childhood property with us and discusses how it influenced their life. All right. Rick, thanks for joining us today. Really excited to have you on.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Out of everything, you chose to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. So what made you pick that?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, it was because you wouldn't let me pick wrestling. But, but besides that, no, I don't know, man. I've been playing D&D for, Jesus Christ, 38 years now. Because yeah, it's crazy. I've been playing since I was like 5.
That's crazy.
In various capacities, like every edition you can imagine. But I mean, back then it was like 1E, so.
Yeah.
How'd you get into it at 5? That seems pretty young.
Neighborhood kids like had it, and you know, like it was something to do, like especially during the summer, like on like shitty days. But then it got to the point where even on nice days, you know, we'd play at the beach or whatever, because you know it was
at the beach.
Yeah. We had like the old Ravenloft box set, and so it was like very self-contained. And so you bring that and the laminated binder, which was like the monster manual at the time.
Okay.
It was called like the Monsters Compendium.
That's right. That's
for
right.
2E. And yeah, we just bring it and, you know, just roll some dice on a freaking book on a blanket and just go from there. And I fell in love with it because, like, I've been writing since I was like a little kid. Like, Jesus Christ, the only claim to fame I probably have is I won the Young Authors Award, like nationally at the ages of 5 and 6, which is hilarious. Nice. And
I can't write, so
it really propelled like what would become my career, because I still write stuff in various capacities. So
nice. So do you think Dungeons and Dragons influenced that, or was it the other way around?
Oh, 1000%. It like, I mean, like, you know, I was always like a writer. Like it's what I always just did. Like the only thing I was like ever kind of good at, and except basketball. I was good at basketball for a little while, oddly, but then I like hurt my knee, and I was like way too lazy to like get in shape again. This is all too much. I'm just gonna like smoke weed and play D&D, and it's, you know, honestly, like no regrets. But no, yeah, it totally just it like propelled the process and just made it better and easier, and like really made creativity happen faster, especially like when I started making my own campaigns and my own worlds, and then I got into world building and creature creation and everything else, and then like Nice. It's just a snowball of stuff.
Did you lean towards the DM role, or
it was really necessity, like it is in my adult life, because no one else wants to do it, and the people who do want to do it try to charge you money for it, and I'm like, I'll just do it.
Really?
But, yeah, I mean, it's good for them. It's genius. Like, hey,
the reality is, like, having a good DM is actually worth money.
It is.
The thought process behind that is entirely logical, and it's like, I mean, especially if they can actually show up as an adult. Look, as an adult, getting 5 people to agree on a time and date to play a round, you know, a session of dungeon, not a round. I don't know why I said that. You said whatever. Anyway, session of D&D is phenomenal. Like I have no idea how people do it on a consistent basis. So yeah, no, that is worth its weight. Yeah.
I hate people who can do it on a consistent basis because I can't do it. And it sucks.
It's more of a jealousy thing, right?
Oh, 1000%. It's complete spite. And honestly, like, fuck all those people.
It's not our fault we have commitment issues, okay?
Listen,
it's a thing.
I haven't played D&D in like 8 months, and I'm actively trying, and I can't. It's like herding cats. I just cannot get like adults to be like, even once a month. It's so difficult to get people once a freaking month. It's painful.
At the beginning, when everybody went home and nobody left their house for like a year, I had a group that was going every other Thursday or whatever it was.
I had 8 games during COVID.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden we missed like a session and it like stopped for a year and a half.
Yep. It's crazy.
I was like, everybody's like, I could do this date and time for like 2 hours. And I'm like, is that even...
It's not even worth it.
Not even worth it? Because like you're going to be catching up for like the first 20 minutes to half an hour. Then
people pull shit for 20 minutes, a half hour. And then you got an hour and you don't do anything. You can't even get into combat in that time.
Right. Like, or you could just do combat and there's like, you're like, I took a step and now I'm fighting some banditos on the trail, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and they're all like, you know, were-goblins or whatever ridiculous thing my DM likes to make up. But no, it's nothing like I got some stories. Were-goblins aren't even a real thing he made up. I just made that up on the spot, but he's made up some weird stuff and
I was more fixated on banditos because now I'm picturing like Mexican were-goblins and that sounds incredible. Like
right?
you're going.
I mean, Lucha Libre. Look, we could go back to wrestling. They're Lucha Libre were-goblins now, and they've all got masks on, and it's a whole thing. Jack Black comes out of nowhere.
Does it take place at a biker bar called Dust Till Dawn?
Yes, 100%. But you go back to high school, and even for me, like I peaked like out of high school. Like all my friends were like in college, and I was like the weirdo kid who didn't go. So like 18, 19, we're like playing for like 6 hours, 7 hours every Friday night. Like we would go from like 7 o'clock Friday night, like we'd make dinner there, or we'd order pizza or whatever like that, depending on whether or not we were feeling up to it. Ordering in making food versus ordering it, and then we play it till like 5 or 6 in the morning sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was ridiculous. So
sounds fantastic.
It was absolutely phenomenal, and I wouldn't change any of it.
I would do that now if
I would do that now too if I could find people to do that. I would probably do that.
Are we starting a band?
We should absolutely. If nothing else comes out of this podcast, if you guys want to play D&D, I'm so down. I need people to play with.
Rick's expectations for us just went right down the toilet.
I'm literally only on this show to find people to play D&D with, like, and hoping that someone in your audience feels bad for me and wants to play Dungeons and Dragons with me. That's literally the only reason I'm here.
Right. So we'll put it out there. Anybody who's watching this who wants to play D&D with Rick, just comment below and he'll find you.
Yeah. Seriously. Or just ping me.
See,
at Haxon401 on Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, everything. Twitter, Haxon401. Hit my ass up and let's play some D&D.
It'll be in the description too. So plenty of ways to get a hold of Rick.
Yeah. Is it Haxon with an X, like, Degeneration X?
No, it's Haxan. It's the Dutch word for witch or witchcraft. It's the name of one of my cats.
Go back to D&D. I see how we did that. We came full circle. We came full circle.
See, I'm envious of your stories because I grew up in the sticks. My neighbors, you could not walk to their house, right? So when I was a kid, I didn't have any close friends that you could just easily connect with. So my D&D was staying after school in junior high and high school and hanging out with the older kids and playing D&D with them in the library. We had some consistency,
which is probably how a lot of people played D&D back then, right? Like, It wasn't as popular as it is now. Like, look, what is one of the most popular movies this year? Dungeons and Dragons.
It's fantastic.
With Chris Pine, right?
I actually went in thinking I was going to hate it.
I haven't had time. Well, that's because we got the 2000 movie with Marlon Wayans, and we had our expectations were set low.
Yeah,
we had Marlon Wayans and the kid from Child's Play 3.
Is Marlon Wayans the original Jared Leto? He just ruins properties.
No.
Dragons, G.I. Joe.
That's why they brought him in because everybody loves everything Marlon Wayans does. It just didn't do well. Like he can't carry a dragon.
Who was Jared Leto in G.I. Joe?
No. Marlon Wayans was in G.I. Joe.
Oh, yeah.
His ripcord, yeah.
Well, I mean, there was a lot more that ruined those fucking movies, to be perfectly honest.
That's a different episode.
Accelerator suits.
Listen, if you need someone to talk shit about G.I. Joe, I'm your guy. As their former social media person, I got stories.
The show is about embracing the topics, not shitting on them.
Oh, right. All right, yeah, let's spin it back to the positive. Talk about wrestling for a second. It'll bring me back.
So, well, that's the thing is like Mike was saying, and you was like you said it, like it became so popular back in the day, 38 years ago. It's 2023. That's got to be 85.
Yeah,
like it was still in his like infancy at that point, right? But it was growing. Well, that's when like between 85 to like 95 is when it just went, and then in 97 when Wizards bought them, Wizards was like, we'll just pump out content, and over the course of the year, like it's become more mainstream.
I mean,
right?
5e is where it really became mainstream, and then everyone and their third cousin has a D&D podcast or thinks you want to watch them play D&D, and then you get all those Critical Role idiots and stuff like that. That really just I don't like the Critical Role stuff personally, because I think it sets unrealistic standards for people. And no, seriously, and I think it really does more harm than good, because people are watching what they may forget are professional voice actors with a lot of money who get all the toys. Like they can afford,
D&D's not cheap.
The Hero Forge stuff and all that others, or Dwarven Forge rather. They can afford all that, and and they're all really good at playing characters, and their DM is too, because they do it for a living. It sets unrealistic standards, and it makes DMs like devalue themselves, and I hate that. I personally hate that. But WotC, when they brought in 5e, is where it really took off and hit the mainstream. 85 was the beginning of the satanic panic of D&D.
Right. Yeah, because back then you had all these, like, it was, everybody who saw anything that was somewhat demonic, like flipping the script just a second here, because I mentioned Wizards of the Coast, like back in the day, magic cards, there was a magic card with a burning pentagram, and everybody was like, and freaking out, and they had to change the art for the next version. But back to D&D, you're right, like that's what happened, is it started gaining in popularity, and in the late 80s, early 90s, like people started to be like, no, I play D&D. Like it wasn't like you gotta hide it. You doing it out in broad daylight would have burned most of us.
You had to hide it. You had to hide it for a while, dude. I was on the basketball team, and like a lot of like certain people, like I was on a CYO team, and a lot of the dudes would like hang out and like go out drinking and shit, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm hanging out with this chick from South Kingston or whatever. No, I was going to hang out with like the kids up the street in the neighborhood.
You had to own it.
To drink Mountain Dew and eat pizza and play D&D. And a couple times people like walked in and discovered me there, and I was like, yeah, whatever. I was like, this is what I do. I was like,
you had to let your freak. I was a kid who played I played rec basketball like for a decade or more, and then I coached it for a while. And I was the weird kid who always was like, no. People were like, oh, I went to this party. I was like, I literally played video games or played D&D for like 8 hours last night, 9 hours last night. Like, you what? And I was like, I don't know, man. Like it's just fun. It's a blast.
High school though was kind of like D&D for some reason. Like it wasn't like cool. It was still like fringe, but like when people played it, they'd get into it. But I was lucky because high school time was like the Monday Night Wars, so wrestling was cool. So I was too busy talking about wrestling to talk about D&D. I was like, okay, that's going to be my side hustle, and I can do it on the side.
Like you use the wrestling to hide. I did that too. You use the wrestling to hide the fact that you're like, I watch Goldberg go 100-0, right? And then and then you're like, and so you're only playing D&D or like video, like a Final Fantasy game, right?
All my friends were like cool too. Like no one gave a shit. It was just like, it was more like, I don't know.
It was a subtle way of hiding it while still showing the fact that you're still a massive nerd by watching wrestling.
Well, yeah, exactly. But there was also like this weird thing that I don't know if everyone got it, but like, so the Satanic Panic, back to that real quick. Like that was
a big part of it.
It was a real thing. Like I'll never forget. I had all the first edition books, including Deities and Demigods with the Cthulhu mythos, which I would give my left foot for right now. I wish to God I had that book still. But
Got
my
it. I need
mom
a left foot.
saw, she like heard something at like church or some shit and threw out all my books and all my D&D action figures. And finally, like she wouldn't let me play for like a month, and it's like the summer, and I'm bullshit. I'm sneaking away and playing it, but like I couldn't have people over
As
to
you
like
do.
play and whatnot. But finally, like a bunch of the other moms like came over and was like, "Yo, Maria, like he's not summoning the devil. He's being creative. Like you want this to happen." And she was like, "Oh shit, I didn't know." And it's like, yeah, but that was the rhetoric at the time. The rhetoric it was like, if you play this game, the devil is going to make you eat babies. And it's like,
Obviously.
whoa. Yeah, I mean, as one would by playing Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, who hasn't,
right?
Eaten a baby while possessed by the devil?
If my deity tells me to, and then I get to go to level 20, and I don't know, it's like,
listen,
did the baby do anything wrong?
You kind of got it at that point.
Yeah, you're giving me armor class 0 here, folks. Okay, then. Ia Cthulhu Fatagan. Like, I'll do whatever you want.
Right. But that I don't think that even like, I think it waned a little bit, but then I think it really did come back because in the early 90s it seemed to just be that much out there as well.
Well, like, second edition was a big proponent of that. Second edition was like, because we went from Dungeons and Dragons to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and AD&D Second Edition, and Second Edition was like the first like really user-friendly edition of Dungeons and Dragons, and that kind of rekindled a bunch of folks back into it. And like Third Edition, hit or miss with some people. 3.5 people seem to like. 4
3.5 was my sweet spot for a long period of time.
Yeah, I mean, because it was like a video game, pretty much.
It was.
It was wild.
It was a massive improvement over the previous versions because, I never played like first edition, if you will, but I read some of the books. Like I was lucky enough to pick up some of the AD&D like all-in-one pack modules at like Goodwill a decade ago for like $2 a piece. Oh, I know, right? And they were all complete with like everything inside. I was like, oh, these are awesome. I got to pick them up. I haven't done anything with them yet. Please see, adult trying to play D&D again.
Again, Hackman 401 if you want to play D&D.
But I've read some of the books. Like I've downloaded the PDFs and I've looked at them and I've read some of the AD&D stuff that I picked up, and I'm like, this is a lot more complicated than it is now. Now it's like you roll a few dice and the numbers match up on a grid. But before it was like you had to do a lot more. Even 3.5, like I played 3.5 was my sweet spot, and then 4 came out, and that did. I never played 4, and then
but I think most people played 4.
I think a lot of people had a problem with 4 because it wasn't out. It wasn't the primary version for a while. It was only out for a little bit, and then they were like, "All right, so we did 5, guys," because Pathfinder started to take off when 4 came out. People were like, "Pathfinder is better than D&D," and then D&D was like, "Oh crap, we're losing market share here." But that's it. Is like every edition, it did just get more user friendly. So you had to be dedicated back, like when you were doing it back in the late 80s, mid 80s. You had to be dedicated. You had to know, and you had to be a lot more prepared for a lot of stuff. And
well, the game doesn't actively try to kill you anymore either.
Right.
Like, first edition is so unforgiving, and if you haven't read Tomb of Horrors, I highly recommend you just read Tomb of Horrors, because holy shit. Like, it's so impossible to do. It's incredible. It's the entire, like, it's basically like one big trap from the movie Saw. That's like the entire dungeon. Everything's the worst. Every door you go in is the worst.
Jeez.
You're like, holy shit. That room was the worst. And you go in the next room and you're like, oh my God, this room is the worst.
How is it worse than the worst?
It's crazy. But I wouldn't change anything about first edition or second edition. Second edition for me still is the perfect edition of Dungeons and Dragons.
I had a lot of friends when I was rocking 3.5. They were like, AD&D was better. They would explain to me, and I'm like, okay, I can see the benefits to some of this stuff. Like, you know, it allowed for a lot of creativity, and you had to really. There weren't like everything you could play as anything you want now. It wasn't as wide open as it is now. You really did have like limited classes and stuff like that, and it was up to the DM's discretion, obviously, which is every game. Can I do this? I don't know. Maybe. Hold on. Let me think about that for a minute.
It was a lot better in the sense where it was more true to fantasy in a way, because like now it doesn't. I don't know. I mean, you know, to each their own. Like I play 5e. I love 5e. I have every book and thousands of minis to go with all my 5e stuff. I won't be spending another dime because I hate WotC for what they're doing to a game that I love. But you know, previously I have, you know, given them a lot of money, and it's.
I mean, we all have, for many reasons.
But it's a different animal now. It's like the whole thing about you can be anything you want. That's great in practicality, but it sucks in a way because it's like you're nullifying a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? It's like it used to be like your perfect party makeup. You wanted like a fighter, a mage, a rogue, like a cleric, and like maybe a barbarian or a second fighter or like some kind of like niche specialist class.
Yeah,
but now it's like,
did they have paladins
in second edition? They did, but you had to be lawful good.
Yeah.
Now you could be a paladin. You don't have to be lawful good. I think that's so stupid.
Right? Like, I don't think I even picked my most recent campaign and character. I don't think I even picked from, you know, the Brady Bunch squares of neutrality and stuff. I'm literally drawing a blank on what it's called.
The alignment chart.
The alignment.
I was going to let you keep going, but I was like,
no, it was whatever these didn't. But yeah, I don't think I even picked an alignment. Like, you had to then, and then you had to add, like, even in 3.5, like, you had to play it.
Yeah.
Like, well, my DM made me play it. Like, you didn't have to, but that was when it was like kind of like, maybe you don't really have to do that. But yeah.
Yeah, now it's like I want to do whatever I want. Okay, you're chaotic neutral. All right, that's it. Like, just be a chaotic neutral, multi-class, paladin, rogue, and you can do everything you want in D&D. And I don't know. Am I being too negative? Actually, no. I'm talking about childhood. So I'm saying good things about the old stuff, so that still works, right? Okay, good. Okay, second edition is amazing.
It's the privileged classes now. That's what it is. Where you can be anything you want at any time that you want. That's your character.
I am legitimately barbarian druid werebear right now.
Yeah, I hate that. That offends me.
It's so much fun.
I hate that.
His name is Barry. Just so
I like that. That's fun.
All right, yeah. He's a barbarian bear. He's a barbarian werebear named Barry.
Oh man.
Anyway,
it used to be like.
It sounds like Nick's writing a children's book.
It really does. He's fighting like the orc banditos, like out in like his weird Good, the Bad, and the Ugly like fantasy simulator or whatever. I'm into it. Don't get me wrong. But like,
right.
You know.
Yeah. One of my other parties, the group that didn't meet for like a year and a half. One of the characters there, he was an orphan lawyer by day. Just so we're clear, he was an orphan he was a lawyer who only lawyered against orphans, just for clarification.
Oh, against the orphans.
Against orphans?
Oh, I like that.
Against orphans. Yeah. So, just to prove how ridiculous it is now, like, any of these things back, if I tried to pull any of this, even in 3.5, my DM would have been like, I give you guys a lot of leeway, but no. That shit's not gonna sail. We did convince him. he created a deity for our party because we played for so long, so many hours, so many levels. We actually reached 20. And he gave us our own deity. We convinced him that our deity name should be Adarai. He was like, deal. And we're like, you sure? Like, this, you can't go back now. He's like, yes. How'd you guys come up with that name? So Game Boy Advance was popular at the time. And my buddy turned it over and it had an Atari sticker on it. We just pronounced it funny. So our deity was just Atari.
All right.
Yeah. But so yeah, that's kind of where that went. That's kind of like, that was like the limits though of the ridiculousness that we got to do.
Yeah, it was like you had to. Back then, it was so much better because it was like you had to tri-class or like multi-class in some way. So like you could go like fighter, mage, thief, knowing for, it's going to take you years to level up because you're now splitting your XP into 3 different boats. Or you could be a bard, which used to mean something, and you weren't just like, a musician who's just trying to fuck everything that's bipedal, like, or not even in that case. I hate what they did to bards because I've played a bard my whole life, and I hate the horny bard thing. Bards are dope. Bards could be so dope, and now they're just like these hornball idiots. And get off my lawn, kids. That's what I sound like right now, and I don't care because I'm speaking my truth, man.
Wow.
I had a 10-year campaign, and honestly, it was the best thing that ever happened in my life. It was.
Were you the DM on it?
No, we had this awesome DM. It was a friend of mine's cousin, and we played
It's a guy's cousin.
All the time. We just played all the friggin' time. Like it went from like the age of like, I don't know, like 8 to 18, on and off. Like we kept in touch, and like we made it happen. And I'll never forget. This was incredible. When I was like 12, he brought in like his buddy to play, and everyone hated him. His name was Adam. We used to call him Assum because he was an asshole, and we just hated him. We hated Adam so much. He was he was one of those people at the table who like, he's not taking anything seriously. He wants all the stuff, and he's just really bad for morale, and like didn't want to be a team. Like he was just a dick, man. And so
was he Leroy Jenkinsing everything?
He was doing that too, until I put a stop to it. So I found this scroll, and this is going to be one of the nerdiest stories I ever tell, but it's really good, I promise.
That's why we're here.
Great.
And I really hope that's what our fans want, because that's what they're going to get a lot of.
Bear with me. So I had a bard who had some weird name, but then when X-Force came out, I changed his name to Bishop, because Bishop was like my favorite guy from X-Force. And so Bishop was awesome. And I found this scroll, and it was a scroll of quest, which used to be a thing. And Assum was being a real dick to everybody. And I was like, you know what? I just can't anymore. And I took it, and I was like, boom, your quest is to pick every flower in Faerun. The DM took his character sheet and was like, all right, I guess that's it for you. Adam left. 6 years later, we are walking through this heavily jungled place that got to a clearing. And in the clearing, it started to get really dense with rocks and different types of foliage that we hadn't seen. And finally, these giant flowers everywhere. And we got to this area where there was this a war party waiting for us. And they were all in better armor than us, with better weapons than us. And they all had branding on their shoulders of a black rose, right? And they took us in, and they were the master wants to see you, basically. The Lord wants to see you. They took us in. The goddamn door opens in real life. Adam walks in, gets handed his character sheet back because he succeeded, and went mad and started a cult. And we were now about to be executed by this guy that we hated in game and real life 6 years real time later. And his first order of business was to hang me. So he put me on the gallows. And luckily someone it was like the best role.
It was like Robin Hood. Did he shoot the arrow straight through the rope?
Dude, it was exactly that. Like someone rolled he was like, you need like a nat 20. And my buddy rolled a nat 20. And I was so happy. And the rope broke and we got out of Dodge and we never went back. Our campaign ended shortly after that. But that level of storytelling was
so
good.
Best thing I've ever seen.
Wow. I was sitting over here and I'm like, I hope he comes back. I hope he comes back. And I hope it's like the guy Assam really showed up and he's really like through the door like Kuzco.
He walked in. He was like 17 years old. He had a mustache. He looked like such a dirtbag. And he sat down with his character sheet. It was like nothing had changed. He was still a super dick, but now he had power and a bunch of guys with better armor and weapons than us, and we were completely outnumbered, and there was nothing we could do. But luckily, we like detoured out, or we did something wild. Like we had to use like some of our really cool stuff to like survive, and then we were just like in the mountains for days being hunted by these idiots. And finally, we got away, and that was the end of it. And then like real life and the crazy long campaign finally came to an end.
High school graduation and college.
Yeah, it was wild though. It was so fun. Good. It was so fun.
Oh man, I'm now like super jealous of this because that's amazing. That really is awesome.
I'll never forget. And he just pulled out the character sheet and just had it out like that. And then the door opened.
And some crap too.
And came that dirtbag. I was so mad. I will never forget. I just remember going, oh shit, I'm so dead. Because I knew, because I was the one who put the quest spell on him, just so he would leave. Because we all hated him.
Here you are trying to be a nice guy and just blows up in your face.
Oh, I mean, it was completely. And quite frankly, that was absolute karma. I mean, I effectively kicked the guy out of the game, but in a really cool way, I thought at the time. But it was good because afterwards, we all talked and we were fine with him after that and kind of patched things up and he changed a little bit. He was still a dirtbag, but we.
I mean, if you're 17 and rocking a mustache, it's kind of part of the territory.
Yeah, it was a real bad mustache too. It was, oh man.
Now I'm just picturing what's his face from Stranger Things, Billy.
No, it was more like
with that he had that really bad I'm barely a teenager mustache thing going on.
I can't think of the character's name, but if you watch Adventure Time, there's this Adventure Time character. It's this little boy with this shitty mustache, and he has a traditional girl's name, and he's friends with Jake, but he hates Finn. He is that guy to a T. He is that exact character.
So good.
That's awesome.
And that's an awesome story.
That's all I got. That's literally all I got. No, but that's, I don't know. But that's an example of what D&D can be.
Do it right. And that's the ridiculousness of the things we used to do back then, right? Now everything's, I don't know, can you even, I think some of the things that we used to do aren't even possible now. For example, a nat 20 just hits. That's it. In most cases, or at least that's how most of the DMs play. If you're rolling a nat, if you have to make a roll or anything like that, nat 20, most of the time is just grandfathered in as you succeed, right?
Yeah, but, or a crit. It can be a crit or double damage or whatever.
Right, but back then, you used to have to roll. You still used to have to roll afterwards, and I'm forgetting the name of it was always a secondary reason and a secondary roll afterwards. I had a buddy who rolled 23 times. He's all right,
Oh, it was the confirmation rolls.
Yeah, so he rolled 23 times. He's like, all right, so I got like a 65. What do I hit? Do I hit it? Do I hit it? Do I kill it? What's going on? It was like a stacked out ranger hunter thing, and he was like, all right, so you literally like shoot a barrage of arrows through the creature, and you like tear it, and it looks like Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's.
I mean, even with 5e, I try to play it like 2e, and I don't know, like, you know, I'll try to like stat my character so he's good at like one thing and not like I don't like being like super OP. I want to be able to die. Like that's the fun of it, you know.
It really is.
Shit and try to stay alive.
That's the benefit of 5e is that you can play it like 2e because it allows you to. 2e wouldn't let you play like 5e if you tried.
No. Good God, no. And Thaco, I don't give a shit. Thaco was the best thing ever. I miss Thaco so much. It pains me.
Well, I mean, if you go back, a lot of people were really worried when Wizards bought them out.
I still am.
Well,
the worry never stopped, Nick.
Yeah, the worry hasn't gone away.
It never stopped.
I think it just recent, like when Hasbro bought Wizards, it like really kind of nothing against Hasbro.
A lot against Hasbro.
In this field, yeah, like right, like they're doing a lot of stuff that the communities and fans of their games that they're making aren't super happy with, right? Like they're doing a lot. The content is still good. Like a lot of some of the stuff they do is still really good, but the reality is it's like I don't know why. Like that was a weird move you did there. I mean, they made Magic card. They made D&D Magic cards, like multiple sets.
Yeah, I mean, they also threw a bunch of Magic cards in the desert, like the old ET game.
They did. As a longtime D&D player and Magic player, and I've probably owned more Hasbro toys from the 80s than any normal child should, due to my family's low tendency, high tendency, depending on where you want to look at stuff for hoarding stuff. So like I've got, I mean, it's not like I I'm really kind of puffing on the Hasbro stuff, but you know, the reality is that's it. But every company, just for counterbalance, like every company kind of has their pluses and minuses in that aspect. Like like you go to Disney and talk about how they own like $7 billion worth of properties, right? And depending on who you talk to, they love or hate the stuff they're doing, right? Like it's on both sides of the world, you know. But
yeah, I mean, Disney. Like, when I talk about Disney, I mean, Disney's even worse. I think they're. If there was a new satanic panic, I would be like, Disney's probably the devil. Like, it's not Dungeons and Dragons because Disney's no bueno. If you look at them,
but Disney is literally print money at this point with all their IP. They don't actually have to make anything else new for the rest of their existence, and they could be a billion-dollar company for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, and they prove that on a daily basis that they literally. But it's the exact same principle. It's that we own the cool IPs that already has legacy fans and new fans coming in because of legacy fans. So it doesn't matter what we give you. You're gonna buy it anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is the hot girl from high school that's nice to you, right? She's there, and you think to yourself, there's a chance. Just like with these IPs, right? They're throwing them out, and you think to yourself, there's a chance that this is going to be good. You know? So yeah. you keep coming back to it. You keep recycling it and watching the media and consuming the content, thinking there's a chance that this is going to be good.
I mean, they swerved me because the new D&D movie I absolutely loved. It's it's probably, I don't know, top 10 fantasy movies for me. I thought it was really good. Awesome. It reminded me of Dungeons and Dragons. I thought it was great.
Didn't see
it coming.
Nobody did. Nobody saw it coming. Everybody went to go rag on it. Like you go back in the day when MST3K was super popular. Sidebar, I did that. I went to go see Fight Club to make fun of that movie forever. That was a horrible idea. I mean, it was the opposite of what happened. But like
Fight Club was going to be a bad movie.
Well, it's a movie about a club of. It's a movie about fighting in a club. Like it's the thought process behind it and idea behind the name. It sounds horrible.
What's one of the best-selling video games of all time?
Wu-Tang Shaolin Fighters for the PlayStation.
Which would not exist if there wasn't Mortal Kombat. People like fighting.
People do.
About people just beating each other up for the hell of it, they're going to watch it.
Funny story. There's
Jared Leto. Not seen Fight Club? Fight Club is just about people beating each other up for no reason.
It's not.
Listen. On the surface, it is. Okay, deep down inside, there's a duality of man. We get that, but we're not going
Jared
all
Leto,
poetic here.
We haven't talked about Dungeons and Dragons for a solid 10 minutes, and now you guys are bastardizing Fight Club. So we're gonna back on topic.
I love Fight Club. That was my point. I went to go make fun of the movie and walked out. Was like, that was the worst movie to go to make fun of because it didn't happen in any way, shape, or form. And what the hell did I just watch? But I have a feeling that happened with the D&D movie. I feel like everybody I know who's seen it, because I have not seen it yet. I've got a 19-month-old, and he sucks up most of my free time.
So I caught the first 20 minutes of it so far, and I was thoroughly impressed. It's
excellent.
Even with the graphics, the monsters that I saw within that time, it felt fluid.
Yeah.
Which is refreshing compared to like all the stuff that Marvel's pumping out, where it kind of a lot of this stuff just seems fake now.
Oh, whereas, Marvel ended when Iron Man died for me. Yeah, honestly, like they should have just stopped right there and just That's it.
But like the dragon and stuff, and the council in the first 20 minutes. It felt right. It felt natural. It felt like they were there in the scene, and it made me hopeful for. I want to watch more. I just didn't have the time to. So I got 20 minutes in, but I'm excited.
I have all intentions of watching it because I suffered through the 2000 movie. I watched the old cartoon, so I fully intend to watch it. And have been given hope that it is really good. So I have better expectations than most because I'm going into it with people having already seen it. And that's good. I'm glad. You know what? I'm glad that, opinions aside, right? I'm glad between, the massive popularity of Stranger Things and all the other things, all the other stuff that's coming out that's like that is getting people into these fantasy things that just were behind. So, you brought up Critical Role. However, the feelings are about it, it's at least, it's giving people that look at like, this isn't just something you do in the shadows anymore. This isn't hiding out in the library because, well, in your case, Mike, you just didn't have anybody who lived near you. I was
hiding in the library. Not hiding. It was the preferred gathering.
Well, right, but that's the thing is like it was done in the library because nobody ever went to the library in middle and high school. The only people that did were, ironically, people
nerds.
I went to the library. You went to the library.
Exactly.
You've run the same campaign for 10 years. Like, you're making my point, in fact, in all fairness.
But yeah, like it or hate it, Critical Role is bringing it into the mainstream, like bigger than before. Critical Role, Stranger Things, they're making Dungeons and Dragons more of an everyman thing, which is not a bad thing at all.
It's very good and it's very bad. And honestly, good for them. Good for their success, good for their game, and good for the people that they're influencing and introducing to things.
Right,
but
people's lives.
But there's also a negative. if you make something too for everyone, you water it down and you lose the element of what it once was. Like being able to do anything you want in D&D now, I mean, it's cool. Like, yeah, sure, that's great. Like, but you could always do whatever you wanted with D&D. But there were like rules in place to make sure that you don't break the game and you keep it fun. Like the problem now is if you have too many options, it's like turning on God mode in a video game. You know, it's great for a couple days, but then what the hell do you do? Because you can do everything.
It gets boring.
No, you're right. Having a million options in some cases is like, I don't know what to do. Right? Like I was, you know,
like you need parameters for things. Like I mean, like shit. Like society, you need parameters. You know, like I'm not trying to compare D&D and society, but I kind of am because things need rules. Things need rules. Imagine Monopoly without rules. That'd be crazy. You know.
I think people still need to learn the rules of Monopoly. Maybe that it's like Uno.
Yeah.
I think
people that's better. Poker has rules, right?
Poker has very specific rules.
Very specific rules. But without them, you know, you could be like, all right, and it's like
I have 5 aces. Where do you forget ace?
I have 5 aces. King me. You know.
Just make aces of Lucky Charms.
Like what the shit? I don't know. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing, and I'm glad for all the positive it does, but I just I don't know. I'm like Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino, man. Like I want my
you were doing it before it was cool.
I want my D&D with rules. I want my wrestling.
I want to die.
I want it to make sense. I want my DC universe with Zack Snyder. Like you know, I don't ask for much. I want a Snyderverse, good booking, and D&D. And I want to play D&D. Remember, Haxon 401 if you want to play D&D.
All right, we still need to get you a group. LFG.
Yeah.
LFG for Haxon 1.
I'm just going to keep plugging myself until you guys tell me to stop. Because what the hell?
Oh, no, it's probably all going to be in there.
Okay, I was going to say, because honestly, like, but see, again.
You plug yourself all you want.
But again, without rules, look what's happening. You know?
It's the Wild West out here.
It's the Wild West. And now you have weregoblins who are also banditos.
I don't see what's wrong with that. I really want...
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just outrageous. It sounds fun. I think my favorite
part is the fact that I could pitch this idea to my DM and he'd be like, son of a bitch, I'm in. Like the next 2 sessions, we're going to be fighting bandito weregoblins.
I really hope. If so, please, you know, I don't know.
Well.
Please tell me about it because that sounds completely outrageous.
Remember Haxon
401 if you want to play D&D.
We're talking about D&D, or really just communicate.
So besides playing the game, Rick, did you ever get into like the cartoon or any of the? You said you had some of the action figures.
Yeah, then my mom threw them out. But yeah, I used to watch the cartoon. I had all the figures. Like now, I got like, I mean, dude, during COVID, like, I went hard. I went hard on Kickstarter.
Everybody did.
Ooh, doctor! I think I got. Like, I figured it out, and it's outrageous. I have 100 pounds of terrain that I haven't used.
Jeez.
100 pounds of plastic buildings, like, or in, like, roads and the whole nine, because I backed so many Kickstarters, because there was so much. That's another thing about the modernization of D&D that is amazing. And the fact that, like, you have all these different companies doing their thing within the vein. But that's another reason that WotC can, you know, go kick rocks. Because when they tried to change the Creative Commons license and everything, like, really, guys? Like, fuck you. This game's been around before you.
Literally.
And it's going to be around after you.
Thank you, Gary Gygax.
Yeah, exactly. And Dave Armiston and the rest. Everyone from TSR.
I just wanted to say his name because it's so good.
It's such a good name, too. I know.
It really is. Yeah. And I do it. And I appreciate what Ready Player One did with that. They took that whole thing and just went bonkers with that too.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of nostalgia bombs out there, which are cool. Stranger Things and Ready Player One and stuff like that, and it's great because it makes people remember stuff they used to be into that maybe they forgot about or something.
And maybe there's a new podcast called "Your Childhood Was Trash." If you didn't, also tugging on those strings that doesn't look like strings.
Totally. And then you have like me on, and it alienates the entire audience because everyone just thinks I'm a prick. But what are you gonna do? I mean, I'm not a prick. I'm just honest, and I'm kind of a prick. Whatever.
The reality,
the combination's entertaining, and that's the.
It's a fine line. It's a fine line. There could be it's between 3 and 3.5. It's a fine line.
Yeah. I'd say I'm like personality-wise, I'm more 2E. I'm good, but I definitely need a couple more.
You have to pick an alignment.
Exactly. Yeah. Not like now. It's like chaotic neutral, and you can just go murder orphans. Who gives a shit? It's like you can't do that.
Lawyer against the orphans.
That's what it was. That's right. I love the anti-orphan agenda. I gotta put that into something.
I don't know what happened. Like he never told us why. Like he was very specific. We were like, all right. Like
it reminds me of that scene from The Simpsons where like the two orphans are like looking at a pet store window, and the guy comes out and he goes, "Get out of here! Don't come back until you get some parrots." We gotta talk about D&D because now we're making fun of orphans, and this is really not a good look.
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to cut some of that out. But back to the D&D thing. So that's it. Is like even back then, like when they were making the cartoon, it was still kind of like one of the lesser known cartoons because funny, you had Hasbro with Transformers and Thundercats and Voltron, like you mentioned, and any number of amazing 80s, 70s, and 90s cartoons that we will talk about on future episodes.
See, for me, it was perfect because it was like it used to go. It was like my perfect Saturday morning lineup. I was so happy, and it was only for one summer. But like, I don't know if you guys remember, but they used to do this thing like right at the end of the summer, and it would be like a cartoon that would include every character from every cartoon of the new lineup. So it would be like a Snork and a Smurf and like friggin' like I don't know, like someone from G.I. Joe and like a Transformer, and they'd all like be together like doing something, and the whole thing was an ad, but it was brilliant because it gave you like also like the programming of what was coming up. And one September when Saturday morning cartoons came back, it was Smurfs, Snorks, Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling, D&D, G.I. Joe, and then there was one more. A pup named Scooby-Doo, and it was incredible.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Sounds like a good Saturday morning.
And honestly, the people who don't like a pup named Scooby-Doo, like, they can jog on because a pup named Scooby-Doo totally fucked.
What about Flintstone Kids?
I didn't like Flintstone Kids. I was a pup named Scooby-Doo guy. It had a better song.
It did. That song was pretty.
I still know the words. I don't give a shit.
Look, we can't knock you for that because the ridiculous things that Mike and I know that are like, we shouldn't remember this crap, but that's why we're here, is so that we can find other people to talk about it.
Yeah.
I remember the Flintstone Kids theme song.
Hit me.
No.
Why?
You don't want to hear him sing.
You don't want to hear me sing. No.
He'll blind you with his head.
Wow. This show is harsh.
We're the friends.
I know. You guys know. Shit.
But yeah, I would actually go back. Mike, tell us about your library experience with D&D. What do you remember from that?
Honestly, not much.
Sorry. I tried.
Just being honest. Just being honest.
Incredible.
No, it's fine. It was a while ago.
I remember it was AD&D that we played, and our library actually had like the books there, and that's one of the catalysts why we played in the library, because the books are right there.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so we take that out, and I had a couple miniatures and stuff that I would play with. I can't remember my class or anything like that. Funny enough, I think the bigger impact for me was the Choose Your Own Adventure books. I used to love those. I used to read them all the time when I was a kid. I would constantly get a bunch, and you skip ahead. You skip ahead and be like, "Nope, I didn't want to choose that one. I chose the other one."
I don't know. If you haven't read the aggregate, you should absolutely read the aggregate. It's a Choose Your Own Adventure comic from Split Decision.
Oh, nice! No, I haven't heard of it.
My buddy Ben Bishop does it. Hey Ben, you should come on the show.
You should.
I told you I'd ask.
Well, you got to get him to watch it first. Otherwise, this is just us talking to Ben. Hit up Haxton 401.
Yeah, Ben. Bring my phone number, Haxton 401 on the PlayStation Network or Twitch or YouTube, which I haven't even launched yet. But
yeah, if you're looking for anyone to play D&D with, hit Rick up too.
Yeah, I mean, just in case we glazed over that.
Right.
Just in case we weren't clear. Okay.
Yeah.
So how does it work? It's a Choose Your Own Adventure comic.
Yeah.
Is it like the book where it's go to page 20 and
exactly
you flip through that? Yeah. Is it a graphic, like a graphic novel? Or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he wrote and illustrated the whole thing. It's excellent. It's really good.
That's pretty cool.
It was like what he did right before Last Ronin.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Now I remember. He was at a local convention. Weirdly, this has come up twice in 2 episodes. And no, you're right. He was telling me about it. He was like really excited to talk about that because he was there with a whole bunch of people who did turtle stuff. So he was like, yeah, I did this. He was like selling it and stuff like that. But I think one of my favorite Choose Your Own Adventure things is I don't read a whole lot of real books, right? I read comic books. Yeah, that's fine. But Neil Patrick Harris wrote a autobiography is about yourself, right?
Yes.
Right.
You're right.
So so he wrote an autobiography in the format of a Choose Your Own Adventure.
Oh, that's awesome.
So so basically the idea is like anytime he came to a crossroad, like he would like basically play out like what would have happened, and then it doesn't go like for 5 or 7, like chapters like some of the old Choose Your Own Adventures where it was like you really got like halfway through the hump and you're like, wrong way. But it would go on for like a whole chapter or 2 sometimes, and it was like, no, I would go back to whatever page. But it's a really good read, and I was really excited to read it because I was like, I love Neil Patrick Harris, and I was like, that is a really interesting concept for an autobiography. So I read it and I was like, this is pretty killer. And stuff. But that's going back to the, Choose Your Own Adventure thing. And I'm also it's funny that you bring up the library having the books. Back when I started playing 5e, I was unemployed. So I was actually taking the 5e books from the library in the local library in town. And you could just keep renewing them as long as nobody wanted them. And since I'm the weirdo kid in town as an adult playing D&D, I could keep them for like 2 months and nobody cared. So then every once in a while I'd have to like return them and then just request it, and then I would get it back again. I'm sure some kid hated me for it because he didn't know he could just request it and I couldn't renew it. So, but anytime it left, I just requested it and then would renew it for 2 months. I feel kind of bad now that I'm thinking about this and saying the words out loud. If anybody's listening that I did that to, I'm sorry. sort of.
Talk to his lawyer, who's a dick to orphans.
Message Haxton 401. He wants to know.
Haxton 401. I want to hear all about it. PlayStation Network. Slam that subscribe button.
Some mash.
You gotta get but you don't have to hit it. You don't have to get a nat 20 to subscribe. You can do that with anyway. Even a 1, it's probably better off. It probably makes more sense at the 1. You critically failed, and I have to subscribe to this podcast.
I feel like this end of the conversation just rolled a 1. Like, what the hell are we doing here, guys?
But no, that's it. It's like you can try to stay on topic as much as you want, and the reality is
possible.
It's possible, but then so it is possible, but the reality is then you're just talking about the scripted questions, and that's why we don't want to do that.
I'm glad, because otherwise I wouldn't have a chance to talk about wrestling or plug myself 500,000 times.
Listen, we also plugged you 500,000 times.
That's great.
But no, that's what this is, and that's what we like, and all of the tangents, everything aside, right? Like we still like everything was related to Dungeons and Dragons in some weird way.
Oh, I'm having a great time. Don't get me wrong.
Right?
I'm just kidding.
No, but I mean, you're not wrong, but you're also wrong.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
I'm not saying you're wrong, but you're wrong.
But you're also not. But you are. So this is where you're what is it? It's true neutral. This is where you're true neutral, or whatever that middle one was.
Chaotic neutral.
Chaotic neutral was the middle one?
No, that's true neutral. Chaotic neutral is like a get out of jail free card. That's
chaotic neutral was on the right side? Yeah, it was like lawful neutral, like true neutral. You were like, I literally don't care about anything. And then chaotic neutral was like, I'm gonna punch that dude in the face, but I'll let him punch me back, so it's okay.
Yeah, and then chaotic neutral used to make a lot of sense, but now it's like, you got someone they're like, I want to play a shape-shifting elf with a jetpack, who's a dick to orphans, but also, gives to charity and clothes the homeless. What am I? And it's like, chaotic neutral. It's just become like, it's if you want to do something, just be chaotic neutral, because no one plays alignments anymore, and that's a bummer. That's a bummer.
Like I said, I don't think I've picked one in the last 2 sessions I've done, or the last 2 games I've been a part of. 3 games? I don't think I've picked an alignment.
But you will pick if you hit up Haxton 401 and start a new campaign.
That's very true.
Oh, are you gonna DM? So
I'm gonna charge for it if I do.
Back to the DM thing, like we talked about forever ago, like circling back though. That's it. Like being a good DM really is worth its weight. So the fact that you did it and you actually really enjoyed it, because some people are like, I'm really good at it, but I hate it. Like,
oh yeah, because I mean, it's a lot of work.
It is.
It's a lot of work, and that's
why
it
once. It went horribly. Yeah. I was very bad at it. Ask Mike.
Like the people who are good at it and charging money aren't charging enough, because if you're good at it, you're worth your weight in gold, because it's so hard to like not only wrangle a bunch of different personalities for real life people, but then you have their role played characters, and then you got to keep track of every NPC, every point of interest, every monster, every number, this, that, and the other thing. It's a friggin' job, man. And like the people who charge money and are good at it, all respect in the world. But the people the people who just wing it and suck and they're charging money, like, come on, dude, like, get out of here. Don't flood the marketplace. Leave it to the guys who are actually putting in the work. Or DM with your friends, but don't try to charge someone real money for that shit. It sucks. It's like going to a bad mechanic. They're like, I need my brakes fixed. It's like, great, I got a broom. fucking idiot. You know.
That's all you gotta do. You just gotta sweep the brakes off a little bit.
Just fucking sweep the dents out. Fucking morons. I can't with some people. But I mean, that goes with anything, you know, like, I don't know. Charge what you're worth. Like, just be fair to people and don't be a dick.
Yeah. No, there's been a lot of people, you know, it's fun. It's fun and interesting because like Facebook has a bunch of people who are like, hey, like I'm part of like 3 or 4 different town forums for towns around me and the ones I've lived in the past 10 years. And there's every once in a while you'll be like, hey, I'm thinking about starting up D&D. And like sometimes they're teenagers. And I would like I thought about it, I was like, I feel weird being like, yeah, I'll definitely go play D&D with you. Oh, you're still in high school. Ooh. Feel like that's a line I don't want to cross.
I mean, you're not sleeping with them. It's just playing
right?
games.
No,
you're basically
like, you know,
you're basically at school when you play D&D because there's so much to pay attention to.
Right, and maybe that's my downfall is I'm not great at paying attention to a lot of things. But no, D&D actually was something that really helped me pay attention because if I wasn't paying attention, I was probably dying. And I didn't like dying. That's why I was pretty in the campaign I ran. Or I was a part of at 3.5. I think I was the only character that didn't die at least once. Because I kept getting by the skin of my teeth a few times.
Mm. Every modern D&D session I've been part of, my character does not make it to the end. I'm usually like the only person who flips characters like 3 or 4 times.
Oh no, there's the guy who played the orphan lawyer. I think in our one campaign that we've been running for like 4 years now, he's played at least a dozen characters.
That seems excessive, but also like he's having a blast.
Oh no, he has an absolute blast, and he's amazing at all of them. You know, I won't tell everybody about all of them this time because I'll probably keep them in my little pocket here to, you know, pull them out later. But he does an amazing job at playing all the characters, and that, like, the role playing aspect of it in some cases is I'm not great at that. I have my niches and I stick with them. And that's how I've always been. You mentioned before, Mike, having little, like, you had a few little figures. We were allowed to provide our own figures back when I was playing the 3.5, and HeroClix was a big thing that had come out at that time. And I was, so my character was the White Queen from Marvel. Because I was a female caster, and I was like, this is me. And they're like, did you just pick a HeroClix as your figure? I was like, you said I could be anything I want. This is now my token. So like they all had like, you know, like they've been making like some hand painted figures and stuff like that. And I'm like, I got the HeroClix, and they're like, you're really messing up the flow here. And I was like,
you were just too lazy to paint.
We used to use pennies. I used pennies growing up. If we and honestly, like, minis weren't as prevalent back then because
but like, now they're just like,
well, yeah, because I mean back then it was like Ral Parther or nothing, and they were like the lead figures that were like $10-15 a pop. It was crazy. They were like this big.
15 pounds. Yeah.
They didn't really look like the thing that they were supposed to be. They were heavy. They would fall over. It was. I don't get me wrong. I love everything about them, but you brought up something interesting because it's like that's the thing about D&D. Like, I mean, is the main point is have fun and play it however the hell you want to. Don't listen to a word I'm saying. You know what I mean? I'm talking about my personal preferences for D&D. D&D is whatever the hell you want it to be. And all the source books are that. It's a source. It's not the end-all be-all. I personally like a lot of the source books and prefer to follow that. you can play as long as you have dice and a pencil, or not even. I mean, now, Jesus Christ, if you had Discord and, Google, you can play. Doesn't matter.
IndieBeyond.com.
Oh, I canceled my subscription after the whole.
I have the free one, so I'm fine.
I still got the free one.
I need, so back with COVID, I had to have it. I was like, my buddy who is the DM was like, all right, so D&D Beyond and Roll20, and I was like, I understand the words you said, but what are those things?
Yeah.
Those are words, yes.
I only I still haven't found my character sheets because I moved during COVID, and I'm like, I know I have my character sheets somewhere. I haven't seen them since before I moved. I think I saw my. Well, I've been playing. We've been doing digital and remote, right. So I haven't had to have a piece of paper. I played an in-person D&D session sometime in the past month, and we were literally all on our tablets because all of us were like, so are you bringing your character sheet? I was like, I haven't updated my character sheet in years. After the move, I still don't know where it is. So I'm not copying the information from the digital thing to the piece of paper thing. Not this time. Like maybe if we start getting actually scheduled sessions, then I'll do it. Because I would like to have the piece of paper going back to the old retro, I'm gonna say it, the old school feel, and get away from, the digital aspect of Roll20 and D&D Beyond or Discord or any number of other infinite different ways that you guys that it's done now, right?
Like I would go back. Incredible tools,
and all the tools are great. Roll20 hated my old computer. I have no idea why I hated my computer so much, but it hated it. And I couldn't have a video chat and that open at the same time. Just couldn't do it. It's my computer, just so we're clear. It's nothing against Roll20. I think it's entirely my computer. Because they got a new computer, installed Windows 10. So that's a thing that I upgraded to. I was on Windows 7 on a computer that I built to play Diablo 3. So, it wasn't super prime computer. Anyway, but I would go back to pen and paper or pencil and paper because you can't do anything in pen because that jinxes everything. I would go back to pencil and paper. I do still play with dice though. I refuse to do digital dice. So I just roll my dice over here and everybody's like, so what'd you get? I'm honest. I'm not gonna lie because
I got a 20.
Yeah,
that's the fifth 20 in a row you roll.
20.
Yeah. So but that's it. Is I would 100% go back to that. The problem comes into is a lot of the content we have is digital.
Yeah.
My DM shares all his D&D Beyond stuff, so I'm like, I haven't bought a book and he just shares it. So he doesn't have the physical copy. So if I needed something from any one of the extraneous books, I would literally draw Tasha's Cauldron. Is that what it is? I forget what it's called.
Yeah, Tasha's Cauldron of everything.
Yeah, Tasha's Cauldron of it. If I needed I need something from that book, I'm like, I don't even have a physical copy to open up and pull it out, right? I'm like, I gotta use the digital copy anyway. So it's kind of but it's got its pluses and minuses. Consistency, though, I would invest in more pieces of paper. I had all of the 3.5 books. Still trying to locate most of those, but I had all of them, literally, all of them. Used to get them at the mall. Wasn't even Borders or Barnes and Noble. It was a different bookstore that was they had 2 or 3 locations in New England, and that was it. So that was the one I went to whenever there was a new book. I went and bought it.
Was it Walden Books? We had Walden Books, and that's where I used to get all my modules and my box sets. I
think it was. Now I'm trying to think. I'm it probably was. The worst part is somewhere in my house, I probably have receipts. Because, I would just empty my pocket and, then when I would want to clear off my computer desk, I would just shove everything in a box or something like that. And then the box would get moved. And then, so I've I found bins of like pieces of paper, and I'm like, I don't know why I have this. That's a whole different episode.
Circling back to Nick being a hoarder.
Yeah, no, it's a whole different episode about that, and I'm pretty sure an intervention is probably coming my way sometime soon by people like Mike. But the reality is, like, yeah, I think it actually was Walden Books. Now that you're saying that, I'm like, I don't know, maybe it was. I gotta double check. I could Google it, but I'm not gonna do that right now. But it was that I bought all of the 3.5 books because I was like, I want these things. It was also well before like any digital content existed, but you know, the pieces of paper, the books, that, you know, it goes back. It has a certain feel that you can't duplicate online.
Yeah,
it's why
it takes for me, it takes the personality out of it. Like
it does.
The digital tools are wonderful because if I want to play D&D with someone, like, you know, if someone from Germany hits up haxon401@gmail.com and wants to play D&D with me, we can use D&D Beyond and probably not Roll20 because that's a little clunky, but Photoshop or something, you know, something. There's a billion tools out there, but like, at the end of the day, it's like I just have this digital character sheet and it's just numbers. Whereas I have character sheets from when I was like 8 years old, and there's like doodles on it, and there's notes, and
I still have my 3.5
billion scribbles and like just different things and the erase marks, and it's, I don't know. I'm a hard copy person. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like digital issues. I want, like, if I get the book, I want to read the book. Like, I don't give a shit about slabs. You know what I mean? Like, if I have the book, I want to be able to read the book.
Oh, you're not talking about comic slabs. I'm like,
I was
one right behind you on.
Well, no, I mean, there's some that I'm gonna open my first appearance of in Moon Knight and read that. No, I'm gonna read the trade. But you know what I mean? Like,
that's fair.
Like, come on. Within reason. I'm saying, like, there's stuff that, like,
well, you're still going to the trade, and you're not going to Marvel Unlimited.
No, I'm going to the trade. I'm going to something. I'm going to a physical thing that I can hold in my hands and bring back a memory, or like enjoy it how I used to enjoy it. And like, that's not for everyone, and that's cool too. That goes back to
everybody watching this podcast. Otherwise, it won't go very long.
Well, yeah, totally. And like, but I mean, digital's great, but I don't know. Like, I prefer to play D&D in person. Right now, you know, I'll play via fucking smoke signal because I haven't had a game in 8 months. I don't care. But, you know, yeah, we can send ravens back and forth. Like, that's fine. As long as I'm playing in some capacity.
I mean, we send dragons.
But, like, I found all these maps that I made when I was a kid, and, like, man, there's nothing like it.
Oh, man.
It's so dope. Hold on.
I spent so much time as a kid with graph paper.
Oh, yeah.
Drawing dungeons. Oh.
That was one of the things. My buddy got one of those big graph like pad things, and that we figured out that like HeroClix characters and similar things were like the size of the squares. So that's why we used them, because it was perfectly built for that.
Yeah.
Like, so it was like they fit right in this square. So that was like, that's your 5 feet, right?
I mean, the in-person stuff now is just so good. Like, honestly, like, when I was like, you know, like, oh, up yours, Critical Role, they got all the cool stuff because they got all the money. Yeah, I'm freaking jealous, too. Of course. I want all the Dwarven Forge stuff that lights up and has all the cool stuff.
Yeah. If I had the money and time and capability and I was like that, then yeah, I'd probably do the same thing. Like Joe Mangli, what's his last name?
Manganello.
That's it. Thank you. Or Henry Cavill. Look, apologize for butchering people's names. They're super into that stuff, and they make it. They let their flag fly, man, and they do awesome, great things. Yeah. Right? Great for them. Right? I'm over here like I'm jealous. Like I wish I had super amazing things like that. Like I've got super amazing things on my own right, but I
just wish like.
I wish I could get people together to play D&D.
Well, no, obviously that. But like, honestly, yeah, Haxon401@gmail.com. Also, PlayStation Network and Twitch and YouTube and Instagram. But like on a serious note, like the thing with like that I wish like the guys from like Critical Role and other people would do. Like they have the platform, they have the audience, and it's like I get why they're using all like the top tier stuff because they can, but at the same time, it makes it so like there's so many small companies out there doing such good work, like Dirt Cheap Dungeons. If you haven't looked at Dirt Cheap Dungeons, you're doing it wrong. Dirt Cheap Dungeons makes incredible stuff, and it's cheap as shit. And
some would say dirt cheap.
Some would say dirt cheap. What's it called? There's a million companies that I just wish like were also getting plugged to that level, because it becomes like a cycle of like, you know, like I don't know. I don't like D&D being a flex, I guess. You know what I mean? It's like,
which is a fair and valid opinion, right? Like that's it. Like you know, off topic, we go back to that like late 90s, early 2000s era. Like we were talking about wrestling. Everybody was like, yeah, wrestling. I was like, okay, but how long have you been watching it? If you've been watching it for like 6 months, a year, because if so, then you're really only paying attention to The Rock and Steve Austin here.
Yeah, I've been watching since 1983. Like,
you don't even know that Steve Austin had
Rocket Promotions.
Right, you didn't even know Steve Austin had a glorious mane of hair, right? Like, get out of here.
Luxurious.
Incredible. It was luxurious.
Incredible. Hollywood Blondes, Stunning Steve and Brian Pillman.
Wasn't Jim Cornette their manager?
No, that was the Midnight Express.
Who was their manager? Because he also went on to do a bunch of stuff too. Oh no, wasn't it Paul Bearer?
It was Paul Heyman, when he was Paul E. Dangerously, managed Stunning Steve Austin, but not the Hollywood Blondes. That was when Stunning Steve was part of the Dangerous Alliance. See, we really got to do a wrestling episode, because I can just go. I can just go, man. Like,
but yeah, no, it's that nostalgia feel. You're right. Like, there's so many companies out there that are doing so many good things, and I wish everybody the best. Like, that's it. Is like everybody. There's a niche out there. There's that level for everybody. You know, for anybody who wants to get into it, look it up, man. Go to a Facebook group if you want to get into D&D. Hit up Hacking 401.
The big takeaway is to like, you see Critical Role. Don't think that is Dungeons and Dragons. That is like top tier, god level. Like, we have a lot of money, Dungeons and Dragons, but like Dungeons and Dragons can be played with nothing. Absolutely nothing, except a 20-sided, a 20, a 6. You can get by with a 20 and a 6. If you have an 8 and you got a 4 and you got a 10 and a 12, even better. Yeah. But you can totally make it work otherwise with a pencil and that.
You need pencil, a character sheet.
Yeah,
there has to be a book of some kind, but you don't need. You're right. You don't need all that stuff. Mike was playing in a library with library books. Just so we're clear, the library still carries those library books, and they've probably got all the cool modules like Tasha's Cauldron of everything and anything else that they release. Like, every library is different. You know, so shout out to libraries for being awesome on that stuff. Like, they are really, like, even as a person who's not a huge reader, libraries have just always been an amazing thing, because they provide so many things that people don't even think about. But
like books, no one really thinks about books anymore.
When people think about books,
they think about Kindles.
They think about
again with it
on Kindle. Yeah, or in my case. So I've said it a number of times, and throughout my life, I will have said it thousands and thousands of times, and I anticipate saying it. I'm not a huge book reader. It is like, I read comic books, and that's in graphic novels and stuff like that. But that's primarily the only thing I will pick up. But it's also a lot easier to read that as it is to, like, say, a novel. But what I did find, ironically, at the library, is that they have books on tape, like they have books on audio that you could borrow from there. They have the digital versions, but you could go there and they had these weird like little things that looked like the old school MP3 players. It was like one of those. It ran on like a single AAA battery, and the only thing on it was audiobook. One audiobook. That was it. It had a headphone jack. I used to plug it into my car audio headphone jack, so I played it through the car audio, and I would drive to work, and I would listen to the book. It would be hard to do that with a P8 Player's Handbook or DM.
It would be really weird to just listen to the Player's Handbook.
You know what? Whatever floats your boat, man.
Goes like concurrently. It's like
I'm going to read the instruction manual at the same time for Super Star Wars. Put that on audiobook or Populous. Or heck, I will read the instruction manual for E.T. From Atari, so that way everyone knows how to actually play the game, because it turns out the instruction manual told you how to actually play the game.
Right.
It took people decades to figure that out.
Unfortunately, you're going to have to go dig it up, though, because I'm pretty sure they buried those with the copies of the game.
I have my copy of the game. I don't have the manual, though, because obviously I did not buy it new.
Oh, man. Do you remember the Friday the 13th game for Nintendo? I know this is off subject. What the hell was going on with that game?
It was like a Pitfall clone, wasn't it?
I don't know. All I know is like you'd walk. It was like a side-scrolling platform, and you'd go like one way, and then suddenly there's no cabin, and then out of nowhere, Jason shows up and just stabs you. That was my experience with the game. No matter where I went, no matter what I did, Jason would show up. But I mean, like, I could never figure out the point. Like, it's like,
so what you're saying is Jason was really good at his stealth checks when he was playing his rogue character.
Yes, that was his
Yeah, he was obviously
the king of rogues.
He was obviously a chaotic neutral, like jetpack bard with, you know, he could pick locks and cast spells, because why not? It's the Wild West.
Yeah. Oh boy. All right, Rick. So it's not like we haven't said this 101 times, I'm sure. But why don't you tell everyone where they can find you?
Oh,
in case we cut some of it out, so it'll only be like 88 times.
I mean, you can follow my cat on Instagram. It's at Bub Fuzzins. He's also known as the Albatron. Two Z's.
Double Z's. Fuzz.
Double Z for a double dose of that pimpin'. Anyway, no, but yeah, follow my cat. He's adorable, and I got two other cats that are on there. But he's canonical.
Apparently.
No, they're also adorable, but he's like the main cat, you know, because he's part of Transformers lore. And so if you're a Transformers fan, follow the cat. You know, it's freaking Meowgatron. What the hell? And if you want to get in touch with me, I don't know, haxon401@gmail.com. Also haxon401 on the PlayStation Network, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. I don't have a like button that you can slam because I haven't set up my YouTube channel or my Twitch channel. So we're clear,
you can slam our like button.
But you can slam his like button.
And we'll tell him you did that.
That's true.
It'll be like the same thing.
Exactly. And then when my channel launches, they can tell you to slam my like button. But yeah, I'm going to be streaming video games. I just haven't set up yet because I'm a lazy prick who, you know, just shouts at clouds. So there we are.
I feel like I've seen that movie.
It's Fight Club. Like, all right, brought that one back. I'll be here all week. Try the deal.
All right, Rick. We appreciate it. We enjoyed you, and thanks for your discussion with D&D. It brought up some good memories.
Thanks for having me.
As ridiculous as they are in some cases, apparently, you know, Rick had a 6-year hiatus of enjoying that game, and then asked and came back.
That son of a bitch.
But that's the power of D&D, guys.
Send me right to the gallows, as I'm sure a lot of your viewers are going to want to do too, but whatever.
I mean, think about how many people out there are now going to be like, all right, so we're going to play the long game. And in 5 years, you're going to come back and be like, surprise! I'm back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's
a pretty killer move. I'm not even gonna lie.
Excellent storytelling. And some of the best storytellers in the world play Dungeons and Dragons, and you've never heard of them because they're just regular people like you guys, but they're out there doing the Lord's work. So go play Dungeons and Dragons, man. Or you know what? Forget your adulthood is trash if you don't play Dungeons and Dragons because it's awesome. Sure. If you like creative stuff, this is the way to do it. And there's no one out there who can tell you what to do with this game. They can offer opinions and show you alternatives, but there's no right way. Well, yeah, I mean, the DM should
dictate what happens in your world,
right? But there's no authority on it anymore. Like we're not in the 1E, 2E world anymore, where it's like
you can't do that because the
rules matter. I guess you could say.
You're right.
All right, I'm gonna shut up. I'll shut up now.
That's fine.
Well, I think the moral of the story is come back in 6 years to catch the rest of the episode because I'm sure Rick's going to be kicking down that door. And
I'm going to be back in 6 years.
Oh man, that would be awesome.
Ready to be executed.
All right, you know what? Fine, we'll call it right now. In 6 years and 1 day, you can come back and talk about Dungeons and Dragons again. And
not a moment sooner.
Can I just talk about?
Yeah, we gotta beat. We got to beat the time frame that that guy came back and harassed you.
Well, fine. I'm gonna start my own podcast and talk about wrestling. And I'll have blackjack and hookers.
And that, folks, brings us to the end. Thank you for tuning into Your Childhood's Trash. We hope you enjoyed our conversation. If you liked the topic and it brought back some memories, hit the like button and comment letting us know. Don't forget to connect with us on all the socials and check ycwcast.com for any new ventures. See you on the next episode. Same trash time, same trash channel.